Maya stood by the rain-slicked window, her fingers gripping the sheer curtains as she stared into the night. The world outside was silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hum of passing cars. It had been 3 months since Ryan's accident, yet the weight of his absence pressed against her chest like an immovable stone. She hadn't moved much from their house, their home. Everything inside still smelled of him, his books stacked neatly on the shelf, his watch still lying on the bedside table, and his favorite jacket draped over the chair. Everyone told her to let go, to move on. But how could she? Because every night, she still heard him. It began softly, a whisper in the dark. Maya. At first, she had convinced herself it was her mind playing tricks, that grief had found a way to haunt her. But the voice, it wasn't a memory. It wasn't something she imagined. It was real. She turned away from the window, wrapping her arms around herself as she glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. The whispers always came at this time. She braced herself, heart pounding. Then it came again. Maya. Her breath caught. It was his voice. Clear. Familiar. So close. She spun around, searching the dimly lit room, but she was alone. Just as she had been for the past 3 months. A shiver ran down her spine. Ryan, she whispered, but no answer came. She was losing her mind. Maya clutched the locket around her neck, the one Ryan had given her on their first anniversary. It had always brought her comfort, but tonight, it did nothing to chase away the chill seeping into her bones. She needed a distraction. Crossing the room, she made her way to Ryan's study. The door creaked open, revealing the familiar scent of old books and his cologne. It felt like stepping into a memory. Everything was as he left it, untouched. His desk, scattered with papers, his coffee mug still sitting beside an open book. She traced her fingers along the surface before sitting in his chair. It was ridiculous, but a small part of her hoped that maybe, just maybe, she'd find something that explained the voice. As she sifted through the drawers, she found the usual things: pens, notes, business documents. But then, beneath a stack of papers, her fingers brushed against something unusual, a folded piece of parchment, tucked away as if meant to be hidden. A strange sensation crawled up her spine. Carefully, she unfolded it. The ink was slightly faded, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Ryan's. Her hands trembled as she read the first line. Maya, if you're reading this, then something has gone terribly wrong. Her breath hitched. Her eyes scanned the rest of the letter, disbelief tightening around her chest. Ryan had written this before he died. And according to him, he had never meant to. Maya's fingers trembled as she clutched the letter, her heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the silence of the study. Maya, if you're reading this, then something has gone terribly wrong. Her breath caught as she continued. I never meant to leave you this way. There's something I can't explain right now, but if you hear my voice, if you still feel my presence, it means you're already in danger. Her vision blurred as her grip on the paper tightened. The ink was smudged in places, as if Ryan had written it in a hurry. Go to the place where we watched the sunrise on your birthday. You'll find what you need there. But trust no one, not even those closest to you. Maya's hands grew cold. What was Ryan trying to tell her? And what did he mean by trust no one? She read the letter again, as if hoping the words would change, but the message remained the same: haunting, confusing, terrifying. She needed answers. The next morning, Maya drove out of the city, her mind clouded with questions. The place Ryan mentioned in the letter was a small cliffside overlooking the ocean, a hidden spot they had discovered years ago. It had become a special place for them, a sanctuary. As she parked her car near the trail, the salty breeze filled her lungs, momentarily easing the pressure in her chest. She followed the familiar path, her boots crunching against the gravel. Memories flooded her. Ryan laughing as they sat on the edge of the cliff, his arms wrapped around her to keep her warm. The way he had whispered, no matter what happens, we'll always have this place. Had he known something back then? She reached the top, the ocean stretching endlessly before her. The sky was clear, the waves crashing below, but Maya's focus was on the lone tree near the cliff's edge. The place where they had once buried a small time capsule. Her hands shook as she knelt beside it, brushing away the leaves and dirt. Digging her fingers into the soil, she unearthed a small metal box. Her pulse quickened. She pried it open, revealing a single key and another folded letter. Unfolding it, she read the words carefully. Maya, if you're here, it means you followed the first clue. You're stronger than you realize. This key belongs to a locker at Grand Central Station. Inside, you'll find what you need to know. But be careful, someone is watching you. Maya's breath hitched. Someone was watching her? A chill crawled up her spine as she turned, scanning the area. The trail was empty, but suddenly, she felt exposed, as if unseen eyes were tracking her every move. Her grip tightened on the key. She didn't know what she would find in that locker, but one thing was clear. Ryan had never meant to die, and she was about to uncover the truth. The key burned in Maya's palm as she stood at Grand Central Station, her heart hammering in her chest. The steady hum of voices, the rhythmic echo of footsteps against marble floors, everything felt distant, muffled, as if she were underwater. Ryan had left her this clue. A key to a locker that supposedly held answers. But answers to what? The thought that someone was watching her gnawed at the edges of her mind, but she forced herself to focus. She wove through the crowd, clutching the keys so tightly it left an imprint on her skin. The station's lockers were tucked in a quiet corner, away from the rush of travelers. As she neared them, an unsettling awareness prickled at the back of her neck. She wasn't alone. Maya turned her head slightly, scanning her surroundings. A man in a dark gray coat stood a few feet away, pretending to check his phone. But his stance was too still, too calculated. Was he following her? She swallowed hard and quickened her pace, locating locker C-109. The key slid smoothly into the lock, and with a sharp twist, the door creaked open. Inside was a single manila envelope. Her fingers trembled as she pulled it out. She had no time to examine it here. She was being watched. Steeling herself, she shut the locker and walked away, forcing her steps to remain steady. She could feel the man's eyes on her, but she didn't look back. Not until she reached the exit. Then, she turned abruptly, just in time to see him disappearing into the crowd. Back at her apartment, Maya locked the door behind her, her breath unsteady. She placed the envelope on the coffee table and stared at it as if it might come alive. What if it contained something that shattered everything she believed about Ryan? Taking a deep breath, she ripped it open. Inside were several documents, some newspaper clippings, and her hands froze, a photo. Her blood turned to ice. It was Ryan. But it wasn't an old photo. It was recent, taken after his supposed death. Maya's breath hitched as she scanned the rest of the documents. A fake passport with a different name, travel records. He had been moving from place to place, staying off the grid. Tears burned her eyes. Ryan was alive, and he had been running. But from what? A sudden knock at the door made her heart lurch. She shoved the documents back into the envelope, hiding it beneath the couch cushion. She approached the door cautiously. Maya, it's me. A familiar voice. Daniel. Ryan's best friend. A cold sensation settled in her gut. Ryan's letter had said, "Trust no one." Yet Daniel was here. Maya hesitated before unlocking the door. As she opened it, she forced a neutral expression. Daniel smiled, but his eyes were unreadable. "I heard you've been asking questions." Her pulse quickened. She had a feeling that Daniel wasn't here just to check on her. He was here for something else. And she wasn't sure if she could trust him. Maya tightened her grip on the door, her mind racing. Daniel stood in front of her, his expression calm, too calm. She forced herself to meet his gaze. "I wasn't expecting you." Daniel gave her a small, easy smile. "I know. I was in the neighborhood, and thought I'd check on you. It's been a while." It had been 3 months since Ryan's funeral. He had barely spoken to her since then. And now, suddenly, he was here? Maya stepped aside, letting him in. She needed to act normal, needed to figure out why he was really here. Daniel walked in like he belonged, glancing around the apartment. "Still looks the same." His gaze settled on the coffee table for a second too long before he looked at her again. "How are you holding up?" I'm managing, she said carefully. He nodded, then leaned against the counter. I heard you went to Grand Central today. A chill ran down her spine. She kept her face neutral.
Who told you that?
A friend. Her heart pounded. Someone had been watching her. Maya forced a small laugh. I didn't realize my errands were that interesting. Daniel studied her for a moment, then exhaled. Maya, I need to ask you something. She swallowed. What is it? He hesitated, then lowered his voice. Have you heard from Ryan? Her stomach twisted. He was testing her. She shook her head. Ryan's gone, Daniel. He watched her closely, searching for any sign of a lie. Right. He ran a hand through his hair. I had this crazy thought that maybe he, had some unfinished business. Unfinished business? Did Daniel know more than he was letting on? Maya kept her voice steady. Why are you really here, Daniel? His jaw tightened, and for a second, she saw something in his eyes. Hesitation, regret. Then he smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes. I just wanted to make sure you're okay, he said lightly. Liar. But Maya forced herself to nod. I appreciate that. Daniel glanced at his watch. I should go. But if you need anything, let me know, okay? She nodded again, and he walked to the door. But just before stepping out, he turned back. Maya, he said quietly, if Ryan were alive, would you want to know? Her heart pounded. She met his gaze and whispered, wouldn't you? Daniel stared at her for a moment longer. Then, without another word, he walked away, closing the door behind him. Maya exhaled shakily, her hands trembling as she locked the door. Daniel knew something. And now, she was sure, she wasn't the only one searching for Ryan. She needed to find him first. Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. Daniel's visit had rattled her. He knew something, she was sure of it. But was he looking for Ryan to help him, or to silence him? Her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar sound. Maya. Her breath hitched. It was his voice. Ryan's voice.
Soft.
Whispering. Calling her name. Maya sat up so fast her head spun. The room was dark, but she could feel the presence of something or someone. Ryan. She whispered, her voice barely audible. Silence. She grabbed her phone and checked the time. 3:12 a.m. Was she losing her mind?
No.
She had heard it. She knew she had. Tossing the blanket aside, she walked cautiously through the apartment, her bare feet making no sound against the wooden floor. The shadows stretched long in the dim light, her own fear magnifying their presence. Her eyes darted toward the couch, the hidden envelope still tucked beneath the cushion. Had someone been inside her apartment? She held her breath and approached the window, peeking through the blinds. That's when she saw him. A man stood across the street, leaning against a lamppost. Even in the darkness, she recognized his stance. Daniel. Her heart pounded. He was watching her.
Why?
Maya stepped back, her pulse racing. She needed to leave.
Now.
She grabbed the envelope, stuffed it into her bag, and threw on a hoodie. The apartment suddenly felt like a cage, one she wasn't sure she'd escape from if she stayed too long. She slipped out the back exit, her footsteps quick but careful. She didn't know where she was going. All she knew was that Ryan was alive, and she was going to find him. Maya's hands tightened around the steering wheel as she drove through the empty streets, her heart still pounding from what she had seen. Daniel had been watching her.
Why?
Was he trying to protect her? Or was he making sure she didn't dig too deep? The envelope in her bag felt heavier than it should have. She had no idea where she was going, but her instincts led her to the only place that made sense, Ryan's old storage unit. Years ago, before they moved in together, Ryan had rented a small storage space on the outskirts of the city. He had always been private about it, saying it was for work-related things. If Ryan had truly been running, if he had planned all of this, then maybe he left something behind. By the time she arrived, the night air had turned crisp. The storage facility was deserted, its dimly lit parking lot making her uneasy. She parked near the entrance and took a deep breath before stepping out. Her hands trembled slightly as she unlocked the unit. The metal door groaned as she rolled it up, revealing stacks of boxes, an old desk, and a phone. Maya's breath caught as she spotted it on top of a pile of books. A burner phone. She picked it up, her fingers cold. It was turned off, but when she pressed the power button, one new voicemail. Her pulse quickened. She pressed play. And then, Maya, if you've found this, then I don't have much time. Her breath hitched. I need you to listen carefully. You're in danger. If Daniel has come to you, do not trust him. He's not the man you think he is. The message cut off abruptly. Maya stood frozen, the phone shaking in her grasp. Daniel. Ryan was warning her about Daniel. The man she had once considered family. The man who had looked her in the eye just hours ago, asking if she had heard from Ryan. A terrifying thought settled in her mind. Daniel wasn't just looking for Ryan.
He was hunting him.
And now, he was hunting her too. Maya turned on her heel, her instincts screaming at her to leave. But just as she reached for the storage unit's door, a shadow moved outside. Someone was here, and they were coming for her. Maya's breath hitched. The shadow outside the storage unit shifted, footsteps crunching against the gravel. She swallowed hard. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she quickly stuffed the burner phone into her pocket. She needed to get out. Slowly, she stepped backward, keeping her eyes locked on the partially open storage door. The dim light outside cast long shadows, distorting the figure approaching. Then, a familiar voice cut through the silence. Maya. Daniel. Her stomach twisted. Ryan's voicemail played over and over in her head. If Daniel has come to you, do not trust him. She forced herself to breathe. Act natural. Daniel, she said, her voice steady despite the panic clawing at her chest. What are you doing here? Daniel stepped into the light, his expression unreadable. I could ask you the same thing. His gaze flickered toward the open storage unit. Looking for something? Maya's fingers curled into a fist at her side. Just going through some of Ryan's old things. I needed some closure. A slow nod. Closure, he echoed. I get that. But something in his tone made her uneasy. He took a step closer. Maya held her ground. How did you even know I was here? Daniel's lips curved into a small, humorless smile. You've been asking a lot of questions. Checking out places connected to Ryan. You're not exactly being subtle. Her pulse spiked. He had been tracking her. Maya forced a laugh. So you're spying on me now? Daniel didn't deny it. Instead, he took another step toward her, his voice lowering. Maya, I need you to stop digging. Ryan is gone. Her fingers tightened around the burner phone in her pocket. She could still hear Ryan's voice in her head. You're in danger. She met Daniel's gaze, her own unreadable. What aren't you telling me? A muscle in his jaw twitched. You need to trust me. Trust him? After what she had just heard, Maya took a slow step back. I think I should go. Daniel sighed, almost disappointed. Maya. But before he could say more, a sudden noise erupted behind them. A car door slamming. Footsteps. Daniel turned his head slightly, just for a second. It was all the opportunity Maya needed. She bolted. She sprinted past him, shoving him out of the way as she ran toward her car. Daniel cursed behind her, his footsteps pounding against the pavement. Maya, stop. She didn't. She reached her car, fumbling with the keys, her hands shaking. Just as she unlocked the door, she felt a hand wrap around her wrist. Panic surged through her. She twisted violently, yanking herself free and slamming the car door between them. Daniel recoiled just enough for her to jump inside. She jammed the key into the ignition. The engine roared to life. And then, a gunshot rang out. Her heart nearly stopped. The bullet missed, but she didn't wait for another. She floored the gas pedal, tires screeching as she sped out of the parking lot. Her hands were trembling, her chest heaving with ragged breaths. Daniel had shot at her. Whatever secrets he was hiding, whatever truth Ryan had uncovered, it was worth killing for. Maya's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. The city lights blurred past as she sped through the streets, her pulse still hammering from what had just happened. Daniel had fired a gun at her. That was the moment she knew he wasn't just hiding something. He was desperate. She pulled into an empty parking lot near an all-night diner, her breaths coming fast. She needed a plan. Her mind raced back to the voicemail. If Daniel has come to you, do not trust him. Ryan had known this would happen. She pulled out the burner phone and stared at it. Ryan had left her a warning, but no answers. If he was alive, where was he? And why did Daniel want to keep her from finding out the truth? Her fingers trembled as she went through the phone's call log. Most of the numbers were blocked, but one stood out. An outgoing call made just 2 days ago. A number she didn't recognize. Maya hesitated for only a second before dialing. The line rang.
Once. Twice.
Then, a voice answered. You shouldn't have called this number. Maya froze. It was a man's voice, low, unfamiliar. Her stomach tightened. Who is this? A beat of silence. Then, who is this? The voice turned sharp. This phone should be dead. Maya's mind raced. Whoever this was, they hadn't expected anyone to find Ryan's burner phone. That meant they knew about him. And they thought he was gone. I need answers, she said, forcing steel into her voice. Ryan left this phone behind. I want to know why. Silence again. Then the man spoke, voice clipped. Meet me at Dock 17. Midnight. Come alone. The call disconnected. Maya stared at the phone, her heart pounding. This was insane. She had no idea who she had just spoken to. It could be a setup, a trap, but it could also be her only chance to get the truth. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. If Ryan had trusted this number enough to call it before he vanished, then it was a lead she couldn't ignore. Midnight. Dock 17. She had 4 hours to figure out if she was walking into the answers she needed, or straight into a nightmare. Maya's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. The city lights blurred past as she sped through the streets, her pulse still hammering from what had just happened. Daniel had fired a gun at her. That was the moment she knew he wasn't just hiding something. He was desperate. She pulled into an empty parking lot near an all-night diner, her breaths coming fast. She needed a plan. Her mind raced back to the voicemail. If Daniel has come to you, do not trust him. Ryan had known this would happen. She pulled out the burner phone and stared at it. Ryan had left her a warning, but no answers. If he was alive, where was he? And why did Daniel want to keep her from finding out the truth? Her fingers trembled as she went through the phone's call log. Most of the numbers were blocked, but one stood out. An outgoing call made just 2 days ago. A number she didn't recognize. Maya hesitated for only a second before dialing. The line rang.
Once. Twice.
Then, a voice answered. You shouldn't have called this number. Maya froze. It was a man's voice, low, unfamiliar. Her stomach tightened. Who is this? A beat of silence. Then, who is this? The voice turned sharp. This phone should be dead. Maya's mind raced. Whoever this was, they hadn't expected anyone to find Ryan's burner phone. That meant they knew about him. And they thought he was gone. I need answers, she said, forcing steel into her voice. Ryan left this phone behind. I want to know why. Silence again. Then the man spoke, voice clipped. Meet me at Dock 17. Midnight. Come alone. The call disconnected. Maya stared at the phone, her heart pounding. This was insane. She had no idea who she had just spoken to. It could be a setup, a trap, but it could also be her only chance to get the truth. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. If Ryan had trusted this number enough to call it before he vanished, then it was a lead she couldn't ignore. Midnight. Dock 17. She had 4 hours to figure out if she was walking into the answers she needed, or straight into a nightmare. Maya's hands shook as she clutched the piece of paper, her car racing down the empty highway. The address burned in her mind. Ryan was alive, and this was where she would find him. She glanced in the rearview mirror. No sign of Daniel, yet, but she knew he wouldn't stop hunting her. After what felt like an eternity, she reached the location. A secluded cabin, deep in the woods. Her heart pounded as she stepped out of the car. The air was still, the night eerily quiet. She walked toward the door, every step feeling heavier. Then she knocked. For a moment there was nothing. Silence. Then, the door creaked open. And there he was. Ryan.
Alive.
Maya's breath hitched as she took him in, the familiar eyes, the sharp jawline, the disbelief on his face as he stared at her.
Maya?
His voice was raw, disbelieving. Tears welled in her eyes. "You're alive," she whispered. Ryan exhaled shakily and pulled her into his arms. "I never wanted you to get caught up in this." She clung to him, feeling the warmth of his body, the proof that he was real. "Daniel tried to kill me," she choked out. "He's been chasing me ever since I started looking for you." Ryan pulled back, his jaw tight. "Then we don't have much time." He led her inside, locking the door behind them. The small cabin was sparsely furnished, a few essentials scattered around. It was clear he had been living in hiding. Maya turned to him. "Tell me everything." Ryan ran a hand through his hair. "Daniel was running illegal deals through his company. I found out and tried to expose him. But he had connections, powerful ones. If I had gone public, he would have had me killed. So, I faked my death. It was the only way to keep you safe." Maya swallowed hard. "But you let me think you were gone. Do you know what that did to me?" Pain flashed across his face. "I thought it was the only way." Silence stretched between them, heavy with emotions left unsaid. Then, a car engine rumbled outside. Maya's breath caught. "He's here." Ryan grabbed a gun from a drawer. "Stay behind me." A sharp knock at the door. Then, a familiar voice.
Maya.
"Ryan." "Daniel." Ryan's grip on the gun tightened. "We end this now." Maya took a breath and reached for her phone. 911. She hit call. Then, she spoke loud enough for Daniel to hear. "The cops are already on their way." "It's over, Daniel." Silence. Then,
A retreating sound.
tires screeching. He was running. Ryan exhaled, lowering the gun. "It's over," he whispered. Maya turned to him. "Not yet. But it will be." Weeks later, Daniel was arrested. Evidence against him had surfaced, and with Maya's testimony, justice was finally served. Ryan was free, and so was she. As they stood outside the courthouse, Ryan reached for her hand. "I thought I lost you forever," he said softly. Maya looked up at him, her heart full. "You never did." A slow smile spread across his lips. "So, what now?" She squeezed his hand. "Now we start over." Ryan cupped her face, his thumb brushing against her cheek. "I love you, Maya." Tears glistened in her eyes. "I love you too." And as he kissed her, soft, deep, full of all the time they had lost, Maya knew. This was their second chance. And this time, they weren't letting go.